women and about 2% only are men. We will be looking into those statistics. We will be delving into that topic, but first we go into the news and we check out the highlights.
Tonight, the government declares the suspension of all licenses and certification permits for second-generation alcohol and alcoholic beverage distillers and manufacturers issued by the Kenya Revenue Authority and the Kenya Bureau of Standards. Also tonight, the nationwide doctor strike organized by the Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union is scheduled to begin on March 13th this year.
In the next 7 days, on the midnight of Tuesday, there will be no doctor. We'll have a procession and a march during the day and then announce officially that the strike starts on that midnight of Tuesday.
The union alleges that the Ministry of Health has ignored their demand. And a section of the church affiliated with former Nairobi gubernatorial aspirant Bishop Margaret Wanjiru was demolished on Wednesday by unidentified individuals.
Welcome once again to this live broadcast. My name is Hibak Said. Of course, on sign language interpretation tonight is Rhoda Nyamai. You can follow us on our socials at TV47KE's Twitter, at TV47 News on Facebook, and at Hibak Said is my handle. To start us off, the government has announced the suspension of all licenses and certification permits for second-generation alcohol and alcoholic beverage distillers and manufacturers issued by the Kenya Revenue Authority and the Kenya Bureau of Standards. Now, Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki issued an order for the immediate closure of all pubs and clubs located within the residential estates and educational institutions, a directive that a section of Kenyans disregarded, claiming that the majority of them would have to close their establishments.
Days after a series of deaths caused by use of illicit brew in the country, the government has launched new, strict measures aimed at preventing manufacturing, distribution, and the sale of illegal alcohol and drugs.
All existing valid licenses will be vetted afresh within 21 days of this directive.
All public officers involved in the enforcement and compliance chain, such as KRA, KEBS, National Police Service, and NACADA, have been prohibited from directly or indirectly owning or running bars under the new guidelines.
And you are there, and those contraband goods are coming to this country to kill our people when you are there. You are in uniform, you have the law on your side, and you simply don't do what you need to do. I'm telling you on behalf of the President and the government of the Republic of Kenya, it will not be business as usual.
The CS also disclosed the implementation of a multi-stakeholder strategy overseen by national government administrative officers to improve compliance, enforcement, and surveillance across the board.
Are bound to take responsibility and to meet the full consequences for any political and social ramifications.
Even after the government has made several statements advocating for bars to be closed in residential areas, not much has changed, and certain establishments continue to cause trouble.
Each carrying 160 liters of methanol mixed with water. That means they can do anything else. They can repackage, they can do what you call pombe, whatever, because they don't have any legal permit.
Kenyans now want more time to restructure in efforts to abide by new guidelines.
Kuna ile license ambazo zitakuwa zinahitajika. The new stock, mpaka sasa kutakuwa na license zingine mpya. Kwa hivyo mimi kama mfanyabiashara pia naweza sema hiyo itatupiga sana.
Because it was a mistake by some people trying to target the bars, because bar and clubs are selling what they have received.
I support hiyo mpango serikali imepitisha, pombe zipigwe marufuku. Juu ni watu wengi wamepotelea kwa hizi pombe.
The implementation of all the stipulated policies will now be at the hands of all local administration to make sure that manufacturing, distribution and use of illicit brew is tamed across the country. Mike Kagwango, TV47 from Karen, Nairobi.
Thank you, Mike Kagongo, for that report. Now, the Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union have issued a nationwide doctor strike, and it will commence on the 14th of March this year. The union says the Ministry of Health has turned a cold shoulder to their demands, and as Elizabeth Atieno now reports, the medics have equally faulted the government for misplaced priorities, questioning their capacity to disburse the CHPS funds and yet fail to provide the 1.5 billion shillings needed to post medical interns.
From Wednesday next week, Kenyans will not be able to access services in different health facilities following a 7-day strike notice issued by the Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union.
In the next 7 days, on the midnight of Tuesday, there will be no doctor. We'll have a procession and a march during the day and then announce officially that the strike starts on that midnight of Tuesday.
Speaking during the launch of the KEMSA Regional Distribution Center in Kisumu County, Health CS Susan Akumicha affirmed that the ministry is working round the clock to find a lasting solution to the issues raised by KMPDU, top on the list being the posting of 1,215 medical interns.
For now, that is unsustainable. As a ministry, we do not have resources to post them. And the law does not allow us as a ministry to post when we do not have budget for it. So we have requested for the budget from Treasury of 4.9 billion shillings to be able to post those interns. So we wait for that budget to be allocated to us, for it to be availed, then we can post the interns.
The medics now demand that the government refunds the deducted housing levy, further accusing the government for contempt of court, citing the 2021 court ruling by Lady Justice Monica Mbaru on remuneration of basic salaries. The medics say the government owes them a total of 1.8 billion Kenya shillings.
You know that 9 billion was given recently to the CHPs, the community health promoters, money that was never budgeted for. Yet only 1.5 billion is needed for the doctors to go for internship.
In its manifesto, the Kenya Kwanza government promised to employ 20,000 doctors. KMPDU now says this dream is yet to see the light of day, as doctors who resigned, retired or even died are yet to be replaced since 2019. KMPDU has also taken issue with the lack of implementation of the collective bargaining agreement dated the 30th of June 2017 and the 6th of July 2021. Medics say they lack a comprehensive medical insurance cover, and they equally lack a training budget for the eligible postgraduate medical officers from the 2018 cohort. Failure to be provided with house mortgage and car loans have also been mentioned as contentious. Elizabeth Atieno, TV47, Nairobi.
Thank you, Elizabeth Atieno. Now, the situation in Baringo County remains dire. The banditry attacks have left 12 people dead, with more than 2,000 families displaced from their homes. Locals continue to demand for the government's intervention and find them a permanent solution. Sheila Chelangat tells us more.
Day-to-day activities have been brought to a halt in Baringo County, and fear continues to breed amongst these displaced residents. So far, 12 people have died in the banditry attacks.
Tumeumia sana. Hatujui, watoto tu ndio tunahurumia juu sasa hata watoto hawana mafasi. Tumeacha nyumbani. Mtu tu umekimbia na nguo yenye mtoto alikuwa nayo.
Last week, hundreds of Yatia residents fled their homes and have pitched camp here in Koibaware.
Currently, we are talking about more than 2,000 households displaced, especially from the areas, more so in Simosoi and some parts of Bartabo ward.
Learning 2 for a second week now continues to be paralyzed, and 8 schools remain shut.
The other schools which have not been closed, they have of course the low enrollment, especially for the learners after resuming from the half-term for a short period that they went.
Locals here say the situation is getting worse in the camps.
Sijui serikali watatusaidia nini? Kwa sababu hata saizi tukiongea hivi, sisi tunalala msituni.
The surge of attacks has caused protests across Baringo County, and today, people living with disabilities joined in the protests.
Tunataka majibu, tunataka justice, tunataka wakora washikwe wakuwe booked. How comes mpaka sasa hakuna mtu no even a suspect, hakuna mtu ambaye ameshikwa ambaye anahusika na ile mauaji.
We understand the government has all this support. Kindly send those people to come to Baringo, come to our families. We need those support. We need to be helped because it has caused a lot of trauma. We've been displaced. We know our children no more peace.
Baringo North residents' demand remains one, that of the government to intervene and tame the runaway insecurity. Sheila Chelangat for TV47.
Thank you, Sheila. Bishop Margaret Wanjiru, the Archbishop of the Jesus is Alive Ministries Church, continues to nurse injuries while estimating significant losses after a portion of her church was demolished following a land dispute where the church is built. Wanjiru has criticized the government, firstly, for allegedly harassing citizens, while recalling the time she campaigned to support the ruling Kenya Kwanza government.
The premises of the Jesus is Alive Ministries Church, led by Bishop Margaret Wanjiru in Nairobi County, turned into a battleground between security officers and some church followers, attempting to halt the demolition carried out by officers from NIS under heavy police guard.
You can't come and deny our peace.
During the hours-long standoff, Bishop Margaret Wanjiru sustained injuries and had to be taken to the hospital for examination.
I'm among the very first people that started selling and campaigning for His Excellency William Ruto. Truly, I wasn't campaigning to be repaid like this. I wasn't campaigning for land grabbers to come and start claiming that our church properties are their properties.
Furthermore, several church workers were assaulted and injured, with the officers believed to have destroyed cameras and confiscated mobile phones from them.
These guys have come, invaded this place. I want any court order, I want any eviction. They have nothing. They're just claiming they're under from orders from above. And it is good that they have admitted there's a force behind it.
The invading officers claimed to have been sent by the managing director of the Kenya Railways Corporation when they began demolishing the church building's walls. According to Bishop Wanjiru, who also once contested for the senatorial seat in Nairobi County under the UDA party, claims to be the rightful owner of the land and has criticized the government for causing her distress as she holds title deeds for the land.
If Jesus is Alive Ministries is under attack today, how about the common mwananchi? Tutahamia wapi? Tutaenda wapi? Serikali yetu yenyewe ndio inatupiga. Where are we going to go?
The land dispute is believed to have begun some time ago, with a case filed against her in court. Last month, on the 10th of February, other officers had arrived at the church and demolished one of the church building's wall. Paul Muniu, TV47.
Thank you, Paul Muniu, for that report. Now, Kenya Kwanza and Azimio MPs closed ranks on Wednesday to raise the spending limits in the budget policy statement, now capped at 4.1 trillion shillings, an increase from the current allocation of 3.6 trillion shillings in the 2024-2025 financial year. The move saw increased allocations to the National Government Constituency Fund, Rural Electrification Program, and roads, much to the amusement of the MPs. The Executive and Parliament were also awarded with increased budgets as Treasury prepares to table budget estimates in April.
Kenya Kwanza's second budget, anticipated to kick off in July this year, offers no respite for Kenyans from the tax burden.
I'm coming there.
This is after members of parliament from Kenya Kwanza and Azimio side closed ranks in the plenary after the National Assembly Budget Committee, led by Kiharu MP Ndindi Nyoro, softened their hearts by increasing the allocation of the National Government Constituency Development Fund NGCDF by 8.8 billion shillings, pushing the fund up to more than 61 billion shillings from the current 53.5 billion shillings.
We have enhanced NGCDF by an extra 8.8 billion shillings, an average of 30 million per constituency on average, Honorable Speaker, so that we accelerate rural development.
We support the finance estimate, the financing of this budget that will come. Otherwise, we will be happy that we are getting 12 billion shillings for electrification, but we are not asking ourselves, how will it be financed? It will be financed by people contributing money.
The new spending limit also extended another sweetener dear to MPs. The rural electrification program increased by 12 billion shillings, and the 10 billion shillings shareable revenue allocated to counties now to be under the charge of MPs.
Mr. Speaker, some of the programs that the chairman has also highlighted, Mr. Speaker, are actually pro-people, pro-poor, Mr. Speaker. And that is what we want to bring up the rural economies, and we'll be able to get, when you develop the rural economies, Mr. Speaker, through production, you will get more revenue into our economy, and this country will be able to grow economically, Mr. Speaker.
The new spending limits also saw MPs award themselves 2 billion shillings for Parliament's budget, which will now amount to 43.6 billion shillings from the initial proposal in the budget policy statement by the National Treasury of 41.6 billion shillings.
Mr. Speaker, if Treasury doesn't collect the 2.5 trillion in ordinary revenue, it means the deficit on this budget will increase. It also means, Mr. Speaker, that some programs and projects within the budget will be affected.
The committee also set a new ceiling for the executive after enhancing its budget by 50 billion shillings from 2.43 trillion shillings to 2.48 trillion shillings. Apul Kamau, TV47.
With a deficit of about 700 billion shillings, we are yet to see how the budget is going to be allocated. Thank you for that report. Now, the Judicial Service Commission has asked President William Ruto to appoint a tribunal to investigate Justice Mohamed Nur Kulo with a view to removing him from his position as judge of the Environment and Land Court. This was released in a statement that also stated that Principal Magistrate Patrick Wambugu has been fired from his post. Kisewa Emory tells us more.
The Judicial Service Commission has recommended the suspension of Environment and Land Court Judge Mohamed Nur Kulo over gross misconduct, incompetence, and the violation of the Judicial Service Code of Conduct. A statement released by JSC and signed by Chief Justice Martha Koome says that the Commission on diverse dates received a total of 5 petitions for the removal of Justice Mohamed Nur Kulo from office as Judge of the Environment and Land Court for alleged violation of the Constitution of Kenya and the Judicial Service Code of Conduct. In addition, upon receipt of several complaints, the JSC on the 31st of May 2023 resolved on its own motion to initiate proceedings for the removal of Justice Kulo from office for inordinately delaying or failing to deliver rulings or judgments in a total of 116 matters. It continues to say the Commission was satisfied that 3 out of the 5 petitions, as well as the proceedings at the Commission's own motion, had disclosed grounds for the removal of Honorable Justice Kulo from office over gross misconduct, incompetence, and violation of the Judicial Service Code of Conduct. JSC also resolved to remove Principal Magistrate Patrick Wambugu from the judiciary for gross misconduct. The Martha Koome-led commission has fired Wambugu after being accused of irregularly altering bond terms that resulted in the release of an accused person who had been charged with defilement of a 6-year-old minor. The commission revealed that the accused person has since jumped bail. Further, the JSC confirmed that since January 2023 to date, it has received 85 petitions or complaints against judges. 37 were dismissed on grounds that they were based on merits or decisional independence of a judge. 30 are pending preliminary evaluation before the commission. 11 are awaiting responses from judges concerned. 3 petitions have been admitted for hearing, and 4 petitions have been forwarded to His Excellency the President for appointment of a tribunal. Kisewa Emory, TV47.
Thank you, Emory, for that report. A widow in Tartar Village, West Pokot County, I beg your pardon, is seeking justice after their 20-year-old boy was allegedly killed by a man who is on the run. The deceased Aaron Kisang Kim Rengetich is said to have been hit by a blunt object after he had gone to meet his lover, Ruth Chepkwemoi, aged 17. This story was produced by Andrew Juma.
A somber mood has engulfed residents of Tartar Village in Kapenguria, West Pokot County, after their kin Aaron Kisang, aged 20 years, died on the 28th of February while undergoing treatment at Kapenguria County Referral Hospital, where he was admitted after he was allegedly assaulted by his lover's brother.
Huyu Ruth ni rafiki yake msichana. Aliita on Sunday, Saturday kwamba kuja, sijui alikuwa ameenda wapi. Akamuita kwamba Ruth, ni Aaron kuja unitembelee, nimerudi nyumbani. Sasa kijana wangu kwenda nasikia kufika kwa gate hiyo boma ilikuwa ni saa 2. Akapika horn. Kupika horn ili msichana atokezee. Msichana akatokezea. Walikuwa wanaongea kwa hapo gate nje ya hiyo boma. Sasa nasikia hiyo ndugu yake akasikia watu wanaongea nje ya gate. Akaenda kuuliza, "Wewe nani unaongea?" Nasikia mama yake pia akatokezelezea. Akaambia huyo ndugu yake, "Huyu ni Aaron." Haya, akaambia twende, "Huyu ni Aaron." Wakaenda. Sasa Aaron akasema, "Bwana, nini mimi kwani si mimi Aaron? Kwani vile nimeongea na dada yako ni mbaya?" Nasikia kijana ni kama alipata hasira. Mama yake akafunga gate akamwambia, "Twende nyumbani. Wacha na Aaron na Ruth wanaongea." Sasa hiyo kijana ni kama alikuwa na hasira, akarudi kwa boma na akafunga gate. Nasikia alienda kuleta rungu na kupanda juu ya gate. Sasa vile hao wanaongea chini yake, sasa miti akaleta miti. Ruth akasema, "Aaron ndio miti." Aaron kuangalia hivi ndio kijana kagonge uso hapo kwa masikio.
Nimeshangaa mwanaume wako na wivu kwa dada yake. Sijuka hiyo hata tulishangaa kama mtu anaweza piga dada yake, kwani hatoe kwani. So vijana wanashangaa ukipiga mtu na uwezi kubaliana upate mshemeji karibu. So ni kama hiyo ilikuwa wivu kati ya yeye na ule shemeji ambaye angekuwa.
A medical report indicates that the deceased sustained a fracture of the skull and started bleeding in the brain as a result of being hit by a blunt object. The widow Paulina Rengetiang, a mother of 7, says Kisang was the sole breadwinner of the family.
Sababu hiyo ndio mtoto wangu tegemeo na alikuwa ni mtu wa winbread kwa hii boma kwa sababu ni mtoto ambaye anategemea. Amemaliza shule, sasa kila kitu ilikuwa ni yeye. Kutumwa kila kitu ilikuwa ni yeye. Lakini nalia kwa uchungu kwamba mtoto wangu amekufa kama umbwa, amepigwa na mtu. Sasa naomba tu justice kwa serikali wanisaidie.
The incident has puzzled residents in the area who are now calling for investigations to unravel the mysterious circumstances under which Aaron died.
Yule kijana aliyepika Aaron, baba yake ni askari. Na inasemekana ya kwamba amefanya mambo ya crime. Anaelewa vizuri. Diposa hao wenye waliongea mbele yangu ni kwamba kuna mchezo fulani.
West Pokot Sub-County Police Commander Kirui Kipkemoi says investigations are still ongoing.
So kwa sasa polisi tumechukua msichana tukamweka ndani sababu yeye ndiye alikuja akapiga report kwamba yeye ndiye alimgonga, na katika uchunguzi wetu tukipata kwamba ni ndugu yeye ndiye alimgonga, ndugu yeye tutamtafuta na inasemekana kwamba huyo ndugu yake alitoroka na hajulikani mahali aliko. So tunaendelea na uchunguzi, tukimpata tutampeleka kotini.
Right. The National Government Affirmative Action Fund today released its strategic plan for the financial year as it aims to continue empowering underprivileged groups across the country through financial and social support. Roy Salaka, the Chief Executive Officer of NGAF, says that the strategic plan fulfills several sustainable development goals such as eradicating hunger and poverty while aligning with the government's bottom-up transformation agenda. The fund, which is under the Ministry of Public Service, Youth and Gender Affairs, supports various underprivileged groups such as vulnerable women, youth, persons with disabilities, children and the elderly.
But what I can suggest, honorable members, leaders, what a CEO and everybody is here from other governments is, number one, as you said, and you alluded to, Madam Chair, work the synergy of partnerships is very important. I'm glad you have CSOs here, NGOs representing here, but especially for government, the synergy of partnerships, because sometimes there's overlap and redundancy when it comes to our work on the ground. I can tell you that for a fact. If Ngaf goes to Baragoi, in a village in Baragoi, and focuses, they work with the ZDF, they work with the Women Fund, the Youth Fund, I can tell you can transform a community because all of you are coordinated. But sometimes we're very uncoordinated, and I am doing this, Ngaf is doing this, and we're so spread thin, there is no impact. You understand? Now, how you achieve impact is when you come together and you say, you know what, we have a gap here, I don't have enough here, okay? Because the CDF can build a school, but I can tell you there's a challenge bringing teachers to that school. Because I work in those areas. CDF can build all the schools you want to. Senor, but getting a teacher to work in Baragoi is not the easiest thing to do. I can tell you that for free. So that is why you come in and say, you know what, we can do the mobilization of teachers. You go build a school, we'll bring the teachers.
Now, dearest viewer, news just in. One person has been shot dead by bandits in Chepkewel area of Baringo North this evening. An unknown number of livestock driven away with exchange of fire heard in the area. This brings the death toll to 13 people killed so far in Baringo County. Of course, we will have details on that story on our socials and in our subsequent bulletins. But for now, let's move on. The inclusion of DRC to the East Africa community is of significant benefit to Kenyan investors interested in expanding their markets. It also opens market opportunities for Kenyan companies to do business in DRC and leverage the low market penetration opportunities where there is need for cross-border transactions that are mutually beneficial to the two East African community member countries. It was emphasized as an indication of growth in the investment world.
Investors and financiers have been called to invest in the Democratic Republic of Congo, with some terming the investment opportunities in the region as low-hanging fruits that have the potential of generating attractive risk-adjusted returns. Speaking during the Equity Investors Roadshow in Kinshasa, DRC, Kuramo Capital co-CEO Shaka Karioki said the East African region is ripe with investment opportunities that can be leveraged on.
Anybody, especially my fellow Kenyans, to come and invest in DRC. It's a wonderful country. It's virgin territory, so to speak. It's low-hanging fruits, and just about any business idea. If you have those 4 items again that I mentioned earlier in place, then you are in a position to actually be able to earn very attractive risk-adjusted returns.
Elsewhere, Standard Investment Bank has been licensed by the Retirement Benefits Authority to manage retirement benefit schemes under the Retirement Benefits Act of 1997. The CEO, Charles Mashira, noted that the authority is confident that the move will provide pensioners with diverse and competitive investment options while fostering a more dynamic retirement savings environment. This comes after the CEO of Kenya Bankers Association, Habil Olaka, urged banks to prioritize the needs of customers so as to have a competitive edge over other banks in their product offerings and customer service.
Considering the elevated level of